Welcome to Policing TV. Each week, we will explore the highlights from our latest videos, diving into topics like AI, technology, drugs, and the people shaping the future of policing. Our first video saw Dr. Martin Wright talk with Iain Britton about the innovative concept of virtual volunteering in policing, highlighting its potential to engage the public, particularly students, in addressing crime and community safety issues.
Why do you think students are a good group to engage in this sort of approach to volunteering?
Well, and I'm sure we'll come to this in a little while. Students are the first iteration of the engagement with the police as volunteers. And the reason for that is, I suppose, twofold, really. First of all, by engaging with students through the university intranet, it's an incredibly safe environment. We know who the students are, their access to the university intranet is password protected, there's levels of authentication around it, and we know exactly what it is the students are saying and doing. So it's a safe environment to engage with the police in that regard. But I think the second aspect, and perhaps the really important part of it, is that students are taught to be critical thinkers. They are taught to be questioning. They are taught to engage in research and thought around the subject. So they are a brilliant group of individuals to reflect upon what is working well in terms of virtual volunteers. But more importantly, how can we improve upon it? So all of that rich thought, that rich reflection, that rich research, that evaluation that's ongoing through the student engagement is actually now better preparing ourselves when we begin to think about future iterations of virtual volunteers, perhaps when we work into the public realm.
Our second video of the week saw Mads Skipanes, a police chief inspector from Norway and a PhD candidate at Norwegian University of Science and Technology. He highlighted the importance of bridging the gap between criminal investigation methodologies and information technology, particularly through the use of AI.
We recently submitted a paper, and the paper was titled Information Analysis in Criminal Investigation: Method, Challenges, and Computational Opportunities for Processing Unstructured Text. Now, what is that title all about? It comes down to an argument from our side where we argue that there's a missing link in the existing literature on criminal investigative methodology. So far, there's been really an attempt to professionalize this criminal investigative domain by adopting scientific methods, I would say. And this means that the focus has been hugely on hypothesis testing, abductive reasoning, falsification, and so on, to sort of avoid the chances of confirmation bias and tunnel vision. And it's been really important work, and actually, at least for within Norwegian context, it has a reframed educational program. And however, though, we argue that these concepts are on a meta level and sort of lacks a tangible method for information analysis in criminal investigations. So there almost seems to be sort of an underestimation of the importance of the ability to analyze information. And for example, in existing literature, we can find that the suggestions on investigators are to list significant information and assess relevant information as some concepts that are given when they're actually not. You really have to analyze and really dig into your collected data and information to discover any significant and relevant information. So that's sort of a backdrop there on this paper. And moving on, we say that based on this, we should emphasize the need for exploratory work and really understand how important this is when it comes to what we can learn from data. Yeah.
Thursday saw us at the Women in Special Constabulary Conference. This brought together female officers from various policing backgrounds to discuss the unique challenges they face, share their personal experiences, explore ways to enhance, support, and empower women in policing. We heard from Special Chief Officer James Deller.
Well, hello and welcome to Hendon Police College. My name's James Deller. I'm the Special Chief Officer of the Metropolitan Special Constabulary, and we're here for a Women in Special Constabulary conference this Sunday morning. Behind me you can see Sir Robert Peel, the founding father of policing. But we've moved on a long way in the last 200 years in policing, and today's the opportunity to hear from my colleagues across the London area. We have officers from the Metropolitan Police, British Transport Police and the City of London Special Constabulary as well. We're here to focus on issues relating to being a woman within the Special Constabulary. We've heard from Dame Lynn Owens today, who is one of our leading supporters of the Special Constabulary nationally, and a force to be reckoned with within policing. We're going to be talking about issues relating to violence against women and girls. We're going to be hearing about a survey that we've undertaken looking at the really detailed issues around being a woman in policing in the Metropolitan Police. We're going to look this afternoon in issues relating to being a woman and some of the challenges, particularly around things like the fitness test. But overall, this is an opportunity for officers to come together, to share their experiences, and to help me as the Chief Officer to shape the future. If we go back to videos that have been on PolicingTV last year, when I took you around Epsom Racecourse, I talked about Emily Davidson, who was a pioneer in the suffragette movement. So it's great a year later I can sort of make good my promise to be able to show that I'm committed to doing more about women in policing, particularly around leadership, to make it a place they can come to volunteer and feel valued and be their best versions. So come on inside and hear what we've got to say today.
And may I welcome you to the first ever Women in Special Constabulary conference here in the Met.
Lastly, in a packed week, we heard from Andrea Schutten, who shared her journey as a police officer facing hearing loss. She discusses the challenges of navigating her career after her diagnosis, the importance of disability legislation, and the stigma surrounding invisible disabilities.
I didn't want others to go through what I suffered, which is why I worked with others in Hampshire to set up that support group. It wasn't just me, it was already identified that we're great with the public. We have something called PLOD, Police Link Officers for the Deaf, who do signing, British Sign Language with members of the deaf community, but we don't do anything for staff or officers. So yeah, I just wanted to give that help and support, and I love it. I really love doing that. And then I joined the National Disabled Police Association, I think it was 2022, because we, myself and my colleague Kathy Baffery, who also works alongside me with a lot of our national hearing work, we were introduced to the president, which was Tracy Betts at that time, and she said, would you consider joining? Because I don't have anybody within the committee with hearing loss, and we get lots of inquiries about it, and it's quite a specialism. People say, why is it a specialism? So it's actually really complicated. Hearing aids, cochlear implants, and policing and technology, which is often quite old and it doesn't work properly. It's quite complicated. So that's got me to where I got then, to give that support at a national level.
Yeah. Well, when you join as a police officer, there is quite a lot of restrictions. As you said, you need to have certain things that you can deliver on your CV, and you also need to have a good medical standard. And when this then happen to you, or any other kind of disabled to happen to you, this I would say the legislation in UK. How much do you feel that this legislation protects you with your hearing loss and be able to work, and how does it affect other people with other kind of disabilities?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I mentioned initially, I thought I was going to lose my job, and I thought, well, as you said, you've got to meet this medical standard. I did when I joined, and I don't meet that anymore. What happens with me? And then I discovered, amazing support from Ollie Dockerell we have a quality inclusion team within Hampshire, and they give reasonable adjustments. I got in touch with him and got some advice and support, and realised about the Equalities Act 2010, So that is, someone may not class themselves as disabled because language is a really big barrier with disability, but the government have chosen the word disability. It's in law under the Equalities Act that if you have a disability, which the short definition is something that affects you the majority of the time, and going about your daily life, that health condition affects what you do day to day. There's very few conditions that are listed on it, like HIV, cancer, and multiple sclerosis. As soon as you are diagnosed with those conditions, you are classed and protected by law under the Equalities Act. So that means that any business, and policing is a business, they have to provide reasonable adjustments to allow you to do your job properly. So I realised I was protected, and that actually it wasn't like the army where you would be medically discharged. They would have to find a post for me that was suitable with my restrictions, which were not working night shifts, not working frontline anymore, sort of in a public facing role, more of what we would call an office-based role. So I realised that, and yes, there is a massive stigma, and there's a big difference between police staff and officers because we have very different regulations between the two. So there was a Windsor review a number of years ago in the UK, which basically said something called X factor pay. They can cut your pay if you're not able to be frontline and operational and deployable anymore. So that also goes in your head. Okay, I get to keep my job, but hang on a second, I've got a family to feed and a mortgage to pay and bills. I'm now going to have my pay drop because of it. But actually, nationally, as far as I've been told, no police force in the UK has ever invoked that X factor pay because it comes down the line of discrimination very easily. And I would say at a national level, sadly, we're still not getting it right, because the biggest reason for employment tribunals in the UK in any police force is disability, because we're just not getting it right. So there's lots of people like myself that it's even their day job, to look after people and protect them. But there's a lot more that can be done there. So that's why my work with the National Disability Police Association, we have to work together with the chief officers, the National Police Chief Council, to change that, to get that understanding, because of the protected characteristics. Sadly, we're the poor partner. When anybody talks about a protected characteristic, they will mention race, they will mention gender, they may mention sexuality, they don't mention disability, because in people's minds, policing and disabled people don't go hand in hand. People visualise someone in a wheelchair. And one of the favourite pictures I use, I wish I could bring it up, is there's a picture at the top with people, using walking sticks, frames, and in a wheelchair. And it says something like, not all disabilities look like this. It's in the background of my LinkedIn, actually. Some look like this. It's just me. Can you tell I've got a disability? Can you see that I have a disability? You can't. It's invisible. And that's the thing. It's, never assume, always just listen to that person. And I think ask people what they can do, not what they can't do. Because you'll find if you have people on your team, then it's estimated that a quarter of the workforce have a disability of some kind, whether they identify as having one or not. And so someone on your team will have a disability. Just ask them, how can I help you? What do you need? Don't make assumptions of it. Don't be fearful to have that conversation, because we need to make it spoken about more.
Thank you for watching. Tune in next week.